I think, first of all, when we talk about the double haters, as I was just listening to the topic, I think crypto is becoming one topic that may sway a lot of the double haters. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are very, losing a lot of trust in the system along the last few decades. And when you have a team like that and we have politicians jumping one side, maybe they will move some double haters. But going back to the price, which is what you mentioned, Bitcoin price has been very stable. I think in the if you look in the last month or so, this is nothing new. This has happened in the past. If you actually look at Bitcoin price, the way that it moves, it tends to be most of the times, it's sideways or down. And then most of the upside is actually captured in very short periods of time, right? And I always say that this is why it's an asset that it's very hard to hold in the longer term, because most of the times they're going to be enduring pain. It's weeks and months of pain, for days of glory. That's the typical trajectory of Bitcoin. Going back to the numbers, if you look where we are right now, in terms of volatility is fairly low. We're at the 5%, I would say, bottom decile in volatility times. And I think the good news, if the past is any guidance of what could happen in the future, is that periods of very low volatility in Bitcoin tend to have offside periods of return if you look 60, 90 days ahead, right? But short term, a lot of things can happen. In the short term, traders control the price. And I think it's always more important for us to zoom out, go back to the fundamentals, and then think about where Bitcoin could be, not, in 90 days, 60 days, but, 5, 10 years from now. Because as an asset, that's what we should be thinking about for Bitcoin.
I'm interested, Raphael, too, when you talk to friends and family and they ask you why you would own crypto here, I'm interested, what are the reasons you tell them? Because I do feel like maybe the story has shifted. It used to be, I think, so idealistic, Raphael. At least among the true believers, it was really thought of as this paradigm shift. I'm wondering if you think that's still the case, or do you tell them it's a store of value, it's a medium of exchange? What are the reasons?
Yeah, Josh, I come from the traditional finance system. I worked at Goldman, I worked at Merrill, I worked at Deutsche Bank, I worked at all the big banks. And for many years, I tried to tell people about Bitcoin, and most of them just shied away. And I think a lot of it, because people start, as you mentioned, a lot of them start as a mini of exchange as their first, they try to put Bitcoin alongside PayPal and other things and other technologies. But Bitcoin is much bigger than that in my perspective. I think Bitcoin is the best savings technology that we've ever seen. As an economist, when I look at Bitcoin and, a monetary policy that it's written in code, it's transparent, it's fully predictable, 15 years without any changes, right? There is not a single central bank in the world that has a monetary policy that it's anywhere close or similar to what we've seen in Bitcoin. And at the end of the day, when we talk about inflation and predictability, what really kills, the plans of economic actors is volatility and inflation. If we had a 2%, which is the target inflation of the central banks, which by definition is already very bad. But let's say they were able to hit 2% every single month or every single year without any changes, that would be bad already. But that's not what happens. There's huge volatility. Some months, inflation for the things that you buy may be closer to 10%. Other months may be negative. And planning around that, it takes a toll and has a toll on the economy. And longer term, not only that, right? The money printing continues, things continue to be debased. And, if you look at a world of full unpredictability, just what we have, and unpredictability increasing, Bitcoin, I think it's a beacon of predictability, in a world where you can't predict anything pretty much.
I don't think if you look at a price chart of Bitcoin, you would say it's a beacon of predictability. And 2% inflation means growth. So with growth comes inflation. Usually that's the way economics works. Although, yes, we've had very low inflation before this current regime. But leaving that aside for a minute, Raphael, I want to get back to something you mentioned in the beginning when we were talking about politics and talking about the focus that those in the crypto community have sort of zeroed in on this election. What are you looking for in terms of the biggest policy change that you would advocate for that would help the crypto industry?
Yeah, I think we're already seeing, if I said, in the past, if I told people that Bitcoin would become a topic of discussions among, presidential debates, people would say it was crazy that it would, and they did, that this would never happen, that, this was something that could never happen, and it's happening. It started, with senators talking about Bitcoin, then we had, more people talking about it, and now we have Trump coming in, and which was a surprise for most people, even, for some of us that have been in Bitcoin for a long time, to hear him saying, the positive things that he did. And as I said in the beginning, I think for people that are very disillusioned with a lot of things that are happening in politics, this could be, a very substantial change. On top of all of that, if you just look, like the ETFs being approved, I think started with a lot of these things, and the whole process of getting the Bitcoin ETF approved, that was also, I think, a path was hard to go through. But the bottom line of all of this is that we're getting a lot of things that we've been looking for a long time, which is getting more support, more clarity around the how you should hold Bitcoin, how you can wrap it, and that's all positive. I think at the end of the day, even when we talk about an Ethereum ETF, I think all the ETFs, they should be approved. And what the SEC should be focusing more and more is what it was supposed to be focusing, I think, from the beginning, which is what they started when we had the Securities Act of 33 and 34. The whole goal was to provide better transparency, better disclosure, prospectors that really highlighted the risks. And I think that there's an opportunity here for the SEC to turn back to their original mandate and to help with that. But overall, it's just very good and very positive to see the developments. I think, definitely heading in the right direction.